From deep in the heart of Texas, it's On Second Thought, powered by Hook'em.com. Hosted since 2016 by your favorite sports columnists, Cedric Golden of the Austin American-Statesman and Kirk Bohls of the Houston Chronicle. Let's do it, fellas.
It's On Second Thought, powered by Hook'em.com. I'm Cedric Golden. As usual, joined by Kirk Bohls, Taylor's favorite duck. And Duck, we have to welcome a longtime statesman issue reporter, the main lead beat writer for the Longhorns. Daniel Davis is the beat writer, and he is the host of Longhorn Confidential, and he's the brains behind the Hook'em newsletter, which, man, that comes out every day. That keeps him busy. What's up, Daniel?
So the front runner and first place person in our fantasy football league. Just wanted to mention that. Get that off right now.
Why are you bringing up personal stuff on a business call, Danny?
5-1. That's all I'll say.
Has that started yet? I didn't know the league had started.
Not for you, it hasn't.
Playing Kirk this week.
That's a walkover.
Bring a shovel. Bring a shovel and some dirt. Because he's a corpse. That's gonna be over. Well, Danny, this is a fun a 4-2, by the way. The Las Vegas.
Oh my God!
Let me get
really
that out
on
of
the live
way.
This is just us chatting, right?
This is just us chatting. This will not go live. Of course, it's gonna go in. It's in. The Texas Longhorns. Well, Danny and I, we picked them. I can't speak about other people on the call. Just look at him and whistle.
I can. I did not.
We picked them to win the game, and we didn't think they'd blow out OU, but they did. And real quick, and we know they're playing Kentucky coming up in a couple of days, but we got to put a bow on Texas, Oklahoma. Danny, you first. Is that the blueprint? Is that what we're going to see when Texas wins? It's going to be a 24-17 type game. Is that the blueprint for success moving forward?
I think it is. I mean, I think that's the kind of game you want to win if you're Texas. You want to lean on this defense, which has a lot of experience, a lot of older guys. You want to maybe not ask your first-year starting quarterback to be the Heisman Trophy runner that everyone thought he was, and just kind of let him work within the system, make a couple plays a game. You want to get the running game going, milk some clock and not get in these shootouts. I think if you're Steve Sarkisian and you have a little bit of truth serum, that's probably what you want. I'm sure the Texas fans may prefer like a 49-0 win over Oklahoma, but I don't think there's anything wrong with the way that Texas won. That we can lean into what you're good at, lean into your strengths, and that's your defense, that's your run game, and that's making a play or two on special teams each game.
Sark doesn't do a lot of 49-0 blowouts, though, does he? And I was going to ask a more serious question. How did you rate the Corny Dogs this year?
They tasted good with ketchup, as they always do.
Oh, with mustard. I mean, what's the matter? What's the matter with you?
Stop it with the mustard.
Is that a Montana thing, Danny? What is that?
No,
it's called a I have good taste thing. That's what it's called.
Am I from Montana?
Yeah,
Am I from Billings? No.
You put ketchup on the hot dogs too?
Damn right, I put ketchup. I put ketchup on
burn
everything.
That sucker and slather it with ketchup.
I'll put ketchup on cake if you let me. I love ketchup. And so I had a Corny Dog, which was a little greasy, which I was there for that. I like that grease.
And I put extra breading,
on,
I thought.
And then I brought Bev a turkey leg from Dickles. So
very nice.
Everything was good. Let me ask you about you and get off of food. You keep always talking about food, and I haven't eaten yet, so don't do that. Is Texas going to be able to cut and paste what they just did? Is that going to be replicatable, Duck, in these next 4 games, which are going to determine if they make it to the CFP or not?
Well, I don't think they're fixed. I do agree with Danny. I think that is the blueprint Sark and his staff does want to follow. They don't want, I was going to say Peyton. They don't want Arch throwing 45 passes a game.
You wish.
Yeah, but they got to have a semblance of a run game. We all know that, and and they had 136 yards against that front is more than respectable. And Wisner just runs as hard as any back in the country. Danny, do you think it's fixed? I mean, we were all in Florida together watching that travesty of a game. Do you think after doing that to Oklahoma, they're fixed for the rest of the year?
I mean, it's probably as fixed after Oklahoma as it was a complete disaster after Florida. I think it's probably there's a happy medium in between. There's room for improvement. There's things they need to do to get better, but it's not as disastrous as it. This is the University of Texas. These are 5-star, 4-star players with a lot of pride who are getting paid a lot of money. I mean, they were not as bad as we saw in Florida, which was pretty bad, but they may not be as good as we saw in Oklahoma. Nick Brooks is going to still have some growing pains. There's still going to be some issues with some of these younger players. Arch is not going to be as efficient on third down throughout the season as he was against Oklahoma. There's going to be some hiccups, but it's also not going to be the complete, what show that we saw in Gainesville. There's probably somewhere in the middle, and Texas fans and the Texas coaches and Texas players are probably hoping it's on the high end of that middle, not the low end.
I agree. Let's hit on a little bit of breaking news. They lost 2 players this week. Will Stone, the kickoff specialist whose parents I rode on a plane with, and they were excited about this season last year, and Jerry Gibson, the running back, are both entering the portal. What do you guys make of that, especially right in the middle of the season? That was a rather abrupt piece of news, Doug.
Yeah, but it wasn't all that surprising. I think we'd kind of heard whispers about Gibson. It's a crowded running back room. And yeah, Wisner missed 3 games. Baxter's now missed 3 games, I think. But, Christian Clark is very capable. James Simon, the freshman, has a little burst and wiggle. And, they got Stewart in there waiting in the wings too. So it didn't really surprise me. And I don't know, maybe the fact that he went to Gainesville in front of family and friends, got on the field one play, and wasn't that a false start? I don't even think they snapped the ball. So that probably was a little disappointing. So, if anything, I think Will Stone's the bigger loss, at least in the immediate, because, Mason Shipley, as good as he's been on field goals, except from 55 yards or longer, he doesn't have the strongest leg. And I remember I was at the high school coaches convention in San Antonio. I asked G.J. Kinney, the Texas State coach, who had Shipley last year, said, well, rate him for me. He said, very accurate, doesn't have the strongest leg. He probably won't kick off for Texas. And I said, well, they've got a kickoff guy, so they ought to be good. So I don't know. Their coverage units have been really good, though, haven't they, Danny? So how would you say the loss of those 2 affects Texas?
Will's the bigger loss. You never want to lose depth in your backfield, but Texas has, they're high on James Simon. Christian Clark is, still working his way back from that Achilles injury. Ricky Stewart's a freshman. And then you hope when CJ Baxter and Quadrivier and Wisner are both healthy, that's 95% of your carries. The Will Stone piece hurts because Mason does not have as strong of a leg, but we kind of saw it earlier this season. We'll set out the UTEP and the Santa Houston game, and Texas just kind of tried to pin it at the 1 or 2 and just have those teams fair catch it, which is the same as a touchback. I think those in those 2 games combined, there was 1 return, and that was because UTEP, I believe, muffed the return and had to return it. So I think that's probably going to be Texas's plan going forward. I also think this is what college football is going to be like. Kirk, I think I was looking back at coach yesterday, and you'd asked Sark a couple weeks ago, would you prefer just 5 years for everyone and get rid of the redshirt idea? And Steve was very much for that, in part because of this. Because you have these kids, if you come to the University of Texas, you think you're going to the league. And if you're Jared Gibson and you're looking around and you're getting 1 carry against Oklahoma, you're not playing in your hometown, and you think you have NFL aspirations, you don't want to burn a year just sitting on the bench. You want to go somewhere where you think you can play. If you're Will Stone and you want to go kick in the league, you're not going to get there being a kickoff specialist. You're going to get there, transferring to somewhere and getting a chance to actually kick. So that's part of the, pitfalls of being the University of Texas and getting these 4- and 5-star kids. These 4- and 5-star kids don't want to sit. And maybe there's a little bit of a better way than quitting in the middle of the season. Maybe there needs to be more honest heart-to-heart talks in the offseason about playing time, because this is not ideal either. But this is also not a surprise, and this is going to happen every year going forward, as long as these athletes have this leverage and have a chance to redshirt and preserve some of that time so they can go prove themselves elsewhere.
But they can't go anywhere now, can they? So it's a weird dynamic, isn't it, Sid?
Yeah, but
Go to the gym.
Yeah,
Go to the
yeah.
gym.
And who's to say that phone's not ringing? And I'm not saying
Sure.
that players are reaching out to other teams, but what about their parents? What about their would-be agents, their representatives, testing the waters to see what might be out there? It still didn't, if that's the case, then I mean, if these guys are miserable, you're responsible for your own happiness. And if you're not happy, and I'm sure Jarek was none too pleased to not get much run at home. And so speaking of the house, this defense in Dallas showed up and showed out. Colin Simmons, welcome to the 2025 college football season. It's just something about a big game that got him going in his area. Ethan Burke is still kind of quiet, but I'll start with you, Danny. Is Colin Simmons engaged now, or was this a one-off because he was playing in front of all of his relatives in Big D?
I mean, I don't want to say he wasn't engaged. I think that's an unfair thing to say about anyone. I mean, we don't really know what's in these
bully engaged
in these kids' minds. I mean, he could just had a bad start to the season. He could have actually been maybe too engaged and too in his own head, which is kind of what Steve has alluded to a couple of times. We'll see down the road if he's actually turned the corner, if this is kind of what lights a fire under him and gets him going and gets him the player that we expect him to be and that he expects him to be. I think his biggest problem probably this year is maybe being a little bit too sure of himself before the season and maybe putting those goals. So he set the bar very high, and then when he wasn't meeting that bar, it leads to criticism from us, from fans, from opposing players who may have been talking a little too much smack to on the field. So I mean, now that he's getting going, we know how talented he is. Just he hasn't met that yet, and maybe this is what gets him going. But it was good to see, and maybe playing in front of family and friends was that little extra push he needed at the Cotton Bowl.
He's not afraid. He's not afraid to get after reporters too. He was. he was like, hey, "What do you think I did?" I was like, "Was that you, Duck? You got after?"
Yeah, I don't know if he was getting after me. I just asked him, "Is this his
coming
best?"
to get you, old man. He was coming after you. He was about to commit some elder abuse. I was going to step in there and move the chair so he could get a clean shot at you. But yeah. Well, what did you think about that? That was his first. Have we talked to him this year? I haven't. Was that our first?
Since August, I don't think. I don't
know. We talked in August, but obviously, he wasn't going to talk after Ohio State or some of these other, especially after Ohio State and some of these other games. This was our first big chance to talk to him.
How do you view his demeanor? He raised the bar. He has raised the bar now. Okay, we're going to expect, not necessarily 2.5 sacks every game, but
look out, Kiki. He's coming after Kiki.
Slow down. Slow down. I want to ask you, looking ahead, I was looking at the schedule. They play Kentucky and Mississippi State, both on the road, and they also have an Arkansas team. Those three teams are 0-7, and we know about A&M and Georgia, and then Vanderbilt in the next home game sometime in the next millennium. Which of those three in that 0-7 scare you to the most, Danny?
This one for me.
Really?
I'll go first. This one. Because they've got to follow up a dominant performance and go back on the road and against a team that hurt Ole Miss last year. They went to Oxford to beat Ole Miss 2017 to open SEC, and Ole Miss that took away their wiggle room, and so Ole Miss ends up losing 3. And so you lose 3, and if you don't win your conference and you lose 3 games, you're not going to make it. You're not going to make it. Texas in a similar position, guys. They already have 2 losses. They can't take a third loss. And if they're going to take a third loss, it better be in the SEC championship game, because Danny mentioned that on Confidential a week or so ago. They might be able to still get in that way, but losing this game will kill Texas. So that to me, those other games won't matter if they don't win this one. So this is the one that would worry me the most if I were the Horns.
Danny?
I don't know if this is being, too sure of the Longhorns or too influenced by this past weekend, but I'm not concerned about this Kentucky game. I just don't think Kentucky is good. This is an 0-3 team in conference play. They haven't played a conference game close since the beginning of September. I think a lot of those fans are probably going to be checked out and ready for basketball season. So I know it's going to be incredibly crazy there in Lexington. But I think Mississippi State is better than we expect them to be before the season started. They'd beaten Arizona State, which obviously gave Texas a close call last year. They played Tennessee pretty tight a couple weeks ago. So I think they're better. That game is at Starkville. It's not at night, which I think is a good thing for Texas. So the fans have a little bit less time to, partake in some adult beverages before they start ringing those cowbells. That Arkansas is going to be interesting. I don't think Arkansas is good, but you just don't know what the whole Petrino effect's going to be, and what exactly that team's going to look like in a month or so as he's trying to convince people to give him that job. And maybe there's a little bit of I'm sure there's lots of people in Fayetteville telling him, if you want to keep this job, that's the one game you have to win is that Texas game. So who knows about Arkansas? But I would rank it Mississippi State, Arkansas, and then a very distant third, Kentucky.
As usual, Danny's right, Cedric's wrong.
You think they're gonna work Kentucky like a part-time job, Daniel?
I don't know if they're gonna work because Texas never works anyone, but I don't think it's gonna be. I don't think that any Texas fans are gonna be sweating or freaking out on message boards during this game. I think Texas is probably just gonna be in control pretty much the entire game, and maybe at the end of the fourth quarter we see Matthew Caldwell for a series or two. I just don't. I'm not putting Texas on upset alert this week. I'll wait until Starkville for that.
So like 31-14.
Yeah, so like last year's game.
Kentucky's the worst team of the league.
Yes.
The worst team of the league, I think. And they're dead last.
Every dog has his day.
But I asked you which one scared you the most, and Danny was correct. It is at Mississippi State. It is at Stark Vegas.
Right. Daniel's never right.
He
Only
picked Texas last week. Okay, come on. He is right sometimes.
So did your boy, and so did your boy.
Yeah, but you always pick Texas. So anyway, that's a whole nother subject. But he's right. I mean, Blake Shapen, they beat Arizona State this year, which is a really good team. And
no Scatterboo.
So, they had Sam Levitt, even though he's hurt right now. They had Sam Levitt, and they beat him. So I agree with you. And I think 9-3 will get you in, I think, if you're Texas. But you probably have to beat A&M and Georgia because the only quality win, the only Power 4 conference win is Oklahoma right now. So I think 9-3 with A&M and Georgia wins, mandatory, is what gets you in.
But you know what you just said there?
What?
You said 9-3 with a Georgia win and an A&M win.
Yeah,
that means they're going to lose to one of these teams. They're going to lose
maybe
to
Mississippi State. Are you not listening?
They're not going to lose to Cowbell.
There's a guarantee. You heard it here first. They could lose to Vanderbilt at home. What do you think, Danny? Where would the loss come? Do you think 9-3, or do you think they can run the table, Danny?
If they go 9-3, they need to get really religious and start going to whatever church Michael Taft goes to, because a lot would have to go in their favor for them to get in at 9-3, especially if they don't get into the SEC championship game. Because if they beat Georgia and A&M, those are obviously great resume wins, but that also means you have a really, really two bad resume losses, because Florida is going to be in a middle of the pack SEC team. And then if you lose at Mississippi State, even though we think Mississippi State's better, you lose to Arkansas, or maybe you lose to Vanderbilt. I mean, Alabama lost to Vanderbilt last year and they were on the outside looking in. So, I mean, I think 9-3 makes it really, really tough, regardless of one of those losses is the Ohio State game, because of the Florida game and a possible slip up against one of these, middle to bottom of the pack SEC teams. I think if you have 3 losses, that third loss has to come in the SEC championship game, if they want to feel comfortable with their playoff hopes.
There are no guarantees, but if they hand A&M their only loss and win at Georgia, both those come late in the year. So, but you're probably right. It's be a coin toss at best.
Before we get out of here, we were over at the presser Monday, and we got Arch Manning. He's always around one of the last guys to show up. We got glib Arch, funny Arch.
He was funny.
Almost gregarious Arch. It's funny what a win can do for a personality. Do you think Arch was carrying that weight around and he just needed to see that ball go through the hoop? Because those celebration shots that Sarah Diggins and Aaron Martinez took on Statesman.com of Arch with the golden hat were absolutely gold. Do you think that he can carry this on for the rest of the season and take a breath and get back to playing good football, Duck?
Yeah, I think he played very well. I thought that was his best game as a Longhorn. And, he's going to need the offensive line to kind of stay on course there. And Nick Brooks, the freshman guard, he's going to have some growing pains. But as long as the offensive line doesn't, retreat and they have a semblance of a running game, I really think Arch can reach a level of play that he's going to keep Texas in it. You look at he's got 5 interceptions, but you look at the SEC standings. Bo Prabula's got 5 interceptions. Nussmeier's got 5. Taylon Green's got 5. And John Mateer's got 6. So he's not the only one that was throwing it up for grabs. But he had no turnovers Saturday for the second time in 3 games, and I think he's made major strides. What do you think, Danny?
I think Steve was correct. I think it was his response to Seth's question post game. Like, I think at a certain point we got to remember it's not just Arch. This is a team game, and obviously Arch is the star, and gets all the accolades and all the NIL deals and all that stuff. But he's not gonna put this team on his back and carry them to the college football playoffs. He's going to need the run game. He's going to need his offensive line. He's going to need Steve to devise a good offensive game plan that plays to his strengths. Like, this is a team effort. And, I think the days, of across college football, one quarterback completely carrying an entire team it's just not what college football is. You need your receivers to step up. You need your running backs to play well. You need your big boys up front to block. So yeah, everyone plays the way they played in Oklahoma, and Arch plays with it himself. They're going to go far. But if Texas is going to go ask Arch Manning to throw the ball 50 times and expect for 500 yards and 5 touchdown passes in the SEC, that's just not how life works. So I think they had a good blueprint. I think Arch executed the plan. The guys played well around him, and Steve called a good offensive game plan, especially there in the second half, coming out of halftime. So do that, and I think they'll be successful down the stretch. But I'm sure Arch was very relieved because I get called a mean comment on Twitter, and I'm ready to go to war. So I can imagine, even though he says he didn't see it, I think he's lying. Being called the world's biggest flop or whatever that Athletic article called him kind of did to his psyche. I'm sure he was ready to go prove some people wrong.
Well, speaking as someone on X, my mentions have been blowing up, but I'm probably responsible for that by calling Kirby Smart a cheater. But what I'll say about Arch is this, and Kirby did cheat, so that was a timeout. What I'll say about Arch is, I hope that he, you brought up Michael Taft's church. And I'm a study of the Bible. I hope that he is Aaron and not Moses. I think Quinn Ewers was Moses. Quinn got him to the promised land. He got him to Canaan, but he wasn't able to cross over. And I think Arch might be the guy to get him to cross over. I just don't know that it's this season. Those 2 losses, man, those 2 early losses hurt the cause. And so they feel like a 9-3 or an 8-4. To me at this point, there still can be progress made, even if we're at the Poulan Weed Eater Bowl, wherever that might be. But it won't be the San Antonio Alamo Bowl, Danny. So you don't have to get your jockeys all in a wad. So hopefully there's wins coming. We want wins. We want to talk about wins. And we know you like talking about wins. But any closing thoughts, Danny, as we head into our 3rd road trip of 4 in October?
Now this is the busy season for us. Basketball's getting started. Football's obviously hitting the home stretch. This is the fun part of our job. Don't get to see our families a lot, but it's a fun time. I'm sure Texas fans out there are going to have a lot of fun. So I'm not going to Kentucky this week. That's you and Kirk and TJ. But I'll be at Moody on Sunday to see the women do their scrimmage. So that'll be fun to see Vic and the gang, and just add another sport to our resume. Volleyball is doing their thing too. So a lot of fun on the 40 acres.
I'm hearing, Daniel, that this Leah Crump is the truth. I've heard it from more than one, and they're saying she could flat out fill that thing up. And Vic Schaefer with a shooter, a 3-point shooter that's not Madison Booker, that's got me kind of excited about hoops. So we'll see.
Vic is going to complain 20 times before the season starts about all of us always talking about 3-pointers, and now he
We'll
has
make
Aaliyah
some.
and
We'll make some
Ashton to
three.
go knock
Shut
some
us
down.
up.
So I'm sure that'll be a talking point this year.
Shut us up by making some. We'll stop talking about it. You start making them. Duck, any closing thoughts?
Yeah, she's got a 3-point shot. Does she have the green light?
Wow. So you're starting something early.
No, you started. I'm just finishing
We're
up.
going to get Vic on the podcast, and you're going to ask him face to face that question. Don't be trying to go all behind his back.
Oh, I know. We've written it. We've written it. We're not behind anybody's back. So no, I'd just like to thank Danny for sharing his wit and wisdom, and just want to leave you with one word. That'd be mustard.
I was going to say, my one word is victory in fantasy football this week. So,
oh my God, here we go again.
5.
You guys have a gambling problem. I don't know what to say.
I definitely have a gambling problem. I don't know how to win, but I know how to win in fantasy football, because you're looking at 2 people that have won championships in the Office Football League, and we're younger than the one who hasn't. So
you only count the last 15 years. Jeepers. Grow up.
Daniel, thank you for joining us. And will you have fun at the women, and we'll see you on Monday back at the 40 acres.
Keep down the home front.
Have fun traveling to and from Cincinnati.
See you, Daddy.
On second thought, special treat here today, Kirk. Our colleague Paul Feinbaum. While we love Paul Feinbaum on everything sports, mute your laptop, Mr. Bohls. I know that's you.
Of course it's me.
It's a button. Just hit mute. We love our friend Paul Feinbaum, and one thing he does that we like is he highlights student media and encourages young journalists who are up and coming. So we decided to have some young journalists on this week's podcast from the Daily Texan, the sports editor Lauren Hightower, Texas football beat writer Meaghan English. They are joining us. Ladies, thank you for your time. And I'm going to start with you, Meaghan. Did you really do a profile on Kirk Bohls for Kevin Robbins' class at the University of Texas? Surely there was a more interesting subject than Kirk Bohls.
I did. That is a true story. It's, very recent. We went around the class and told Professor Robbins what we were going to do profiles on and everything. And about 15 minutes before that class, I had to ask Kirk to do it in the first place, and we were probably supposed to get it done like maybe a week before. So I was like, oh, I'm going to do Kirk Bohls. And he goes, every year someone does it. So make it different. And I was like, I will. If anyone's going to make it different, it'll be me.
How'd you make it different? Because I taught that class, and 3 of my students wanted to do Kirk Bohls, and I said, no, just one of you. And we drew straws, and the short straw got Kirk. So, he's read a million of those. So how'd you make it different?
Well, a lot of the things that we do in that class focus on issues within journalism. And so there were 2 topics that I felt highlighted some issues in journalism today. Especially when you've been in the business as long as Kirk has. And one of those was the career change a couple years ago. And the second of those was watching the golden ages of sports media, your relationship with Texas coaches, Texas SIDs kind of come and go over the years. And of course, I had to touch on the Heisman voting, because who can write a story about Kirk Bohls without touching on that in a little bit of a way.
Which year are we talking about?
I did focus on the
Heisman voter for 30-something years, but which one are we talking about? Gotta be specific.
But I did focus on the most controversial one. I focused on Vince Young, Reggie Bush, but it all tied it together. Kirk told me himself he's a man that hates change, and yet you have this career change and you have all this change in the industry over the years. So it's kind of impossible to be complacent with what you're doing. And one of the only things that you can do to stay relevant is to be true to yourself and know exactly who you are. And I felt like when Kirk Bohls put Reggie Bush's name down that Heisman vote, and that's what he was doing. So
Yeah, I think that's a first in our podcast, Lauren. Someone said Kirk Bohls irrelevant in the same breath. That's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Hey, I will say this. I will say this. She asks very good questions. Meaghan's a very good interviewer.
Gotta send me that. Gotta send me that. I want to see that. Well, Meaghan's from Henderson, so that's a fellow East Texan. Lauren is from College Station, and for those of you watching on YouTube, in honor of that, I wore my Aggie maroon gingham.
Is that the reason?
No, it was the only one that was clean. So no, that's not the reason.
I got it.
Lauren, could you talk to us about some road trips you guys have made, particularly the Florida New Orleans double recently? Got to give our listeners and viewers, put us in the back seat of that Rolls Royce you guys were driving cross country to cover 2 football games.
Chevy,
I mean, me and Meaghan were in the backseat for most of that drive, so we can definitely give you the perspective from the backseat. But
shout out to Nolan, was it?
No, it was Nick.
Shout out to Nick for driving.
Shout out to Nick for driving. He drove probably over 10 hours of that drive, most of it. So yeah, we started out pretty early on Friday morning. And honestly, I wasn't sure that we were all going to be waking up on time to get to Florida on time. So, good job, Meaghan. Meaghan is not an early morning person at all. So we all got up early and we all were able to hit the road on time. And the drive there was pretty rough. I'd say that was the hardest part, because it was 15 hours just straight through, basically. So we by the time we got to Pensacola, we were like, okay, we're about to kill each other. Like, we need to stop. So we stopped and we went to Publix, the grocery store, and got some Publix subs. And then we went to the beach and swam in the ocean.
Nice.
As like an hour break. So we did that, and then we realized we probably shouldn't have done that, because we still had a 3-4 hour drive after that with our wet clothes.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was gross.
How many buckets did y'all stop at, Lauren?
We stopped at one, which
Just
I feel
one.
like just one, but
Give us
and that was on our way there.
the stat. Give us the stat of the trip
Oh,
involving Buc-ee's. Meaghan, didn't you?
That's Atlanta.
Waffle Houses?
Waffle Houses, yes.
That was Atlanta. That was last summer. And there are 36 between Austin and Atlanta. Just
I love that.
Oh my God! So you cover the Florida game, and Texas gets murdered, and
Yeah.
then what was the plan after that? You didn't go home yet. Where did you go?
No, we Nick got us credentialed for the New Orleans Saints game against the Giants. So we drove back to Pensacola immediately after the Florida game, and we stayed a night in this haunted Airbnb that was like an old brothel, apparently, and it had like all these weird alcoves, and it was spooky. Like, they were talking about it being haunted, and I was like, guys, you can't say that, or else I'm not going to be able to sleep tonight. So I need you guys to stop.
Oh my God!
So then we woke up at like 7 a.m. and we drove to New Orleans to cover the Saints game. And we got up in the press box, and they had, prime rib and all this really good food.
Well, they know how to cook. They know how to cook.
They do know how to cook. It was a whole spread. They had 2 courses. I was like, man, if this is how I'm treated every game, that's amazing. And then we got to go down into the locker room and interview the former Longhorns who were on the team. So it was a really good experience. Calvin Banks,
Jalen Ford.
Mm-hmm. It was just the 2 of them, because I think Vernon was injured, so he wasn't in the locker room. But yeah, but it was a really cool experience. And they were all way more upfront with us, I guess, with it being in the locker room. So it was a really cool experience to, not have to be able to ask whatever and then be really honest with how they're feeling and what they're going through.
You know what? And the timing is everything. You actually covered a Saints win.
It's their first win.
Their very first win, and perhaps their last. We don't know. They're not very good. But you guys nailed it. Kirk and I didn't get a win on that trip. We got lost. We had to come home right up.
Yeah, we won. We got to come home. So anyway, Lauren's got a couple of interesting career options. Would you tell our audience what your considerations are at this point?
Yeah, I'm either considering going into journalism and doing sports writing, or also just being a doctor. So, two opposite ends of the spectrum. But yeah, I got certified to be an EMT this summer. So, Kirk.
Wow.
I was trying to be Kirk. Yeah. So hey, if you guys have a heart attack in the press box, I got you. I can do CPR like nobody's business.
I'm gonna sit next to you because my A1C wasn't up to par on my last physical. Kirk had a great physical, but he's 90, so you might want to sit a little closer to Kirk than me.
Okay.
I'm fat and he's old. Yeah, just keep an eye.
That's why John put me next to him in the press box.
I love that.
Just in case.
She always brings her medical bag just in case.
Yeah, I will. I'll pack my EMT.
For both of you, why did you get into journalism? Why are you interested in maybe being sports writers? Meaghan, we'll start with you.
Yeah. For me, it was always sport. I mean, I guess there was a minute when I did get to college and I was looking at the Texan and I knew that I wanted to write for it, and I applied to both news and sports. And I didn't make it into news. They said I was too opinionated, but I did get into sports.
That's the way news is now.
Yeah. That's what I was saying. I was like, guys, come on.
Fit right in.
But I always knew that was what I was eventually gonna do. It was just too clear cut for me, even as a kid. Like said, I grew up in East Texas, and so high school football was a huge part of it. My dad, I'm really close with him, and so I took on all of his sports teams, and he doesn't have any sons, and he is the oldest of 3 brothers. So I always said I'm his prettiest son because I kind of took on that role for him as a kid. Like, he put me in softball, soccer, all of that, and I continue doing that. And then we still run a fantasy team together, and we just talk to each other every day through that. So I always knew that I love sports, and I always knew that I loved reading and writing and everything to do with that because my mom was a teacher, and so she was really big on me developing those skills pretty early on. So I'd always been strong in writing, and then I just knew that I really liked to talk to people too. I would interview people at my high school. We didn't have a journalism program or anything.
Really?
Yeah.
No school paper?
Nothing. We just had a yearbook. That's all.
Okay. Wow.
So I got into that, and football was probably our biggest spread. So I got into taking pictures, talking to people, interviewing them, writing things up just for fun. I knew it wasn't going to go anywhere. Maybe we'd squeeze it into the yearbook, but it was just for fun. I really loved it. And so I was like, yeah, we might as well put journalism down on my applications when they asked me what I wanted to do in college. I'm applying to all these schools because I didn't even know if I wanted to go to Texas either. Made my way down here, and yeah, Texan kind of said, no news for you. You're going to...
What were your other options as far as schools? What were you considering?
Oh, man. I applied to a lot. I applied to like Baylor, UNT, Ole Miss, Arkansas, OU.
Wow, a lot of them.
There's a couple more. I applied to Northwestern. I remember there were several everywhere but Texas A&M, basically. But yeah,
How about you, Lauren? Did you work for a school paper in high school, Lauren?
I did yearbook in high school for 2 years, but I didn't do our school paper, which is the Roar. But I think it was just because it was too close to home for me. Like my stepdad, he was one of the newspaper sponsors. And so I was like, I can't be that close to it. Like I can't go and do that. So I did yearbook instead. Um, and I think that was a cool thing to do in high school because I got to take pictures too. And I think uh it's always fun to get to do like everything that like from design to taking pictures to writing the story too. Um, but I always knew that I love to write. That I've always been like English is my favorite subject in school, even though I chose to do neuroscience as a major in college. So
Oh,
um, it's yeah. Um,
That was your
but
major, wasn't it, Said wasn't that your major?
neuroscience?
No. Wasn't it?
No, I majored in lunch. That was
Okay.
my major.
And did good job too. So
Thank you.
yeah. Are
Yeah,
you are
I
you
always got extra credit for lunch.
are you ladies in any of the classes with any football players or Longhorn athletes? And
Good
I was
question.
curious about the dynamic if you interview them and then you might be sitting in class next to them.
yeah, I
Go ahead, Lauren.
I took a class that was history of college football, and
Ah,
so if you can imagine, it was a pretty easy class that a lot of football players took. So it was it was like a 400 person class though, so it wasn't I didn't get to ever talk with them, but
did Mac
taught
Brown
that?
teach
Who
that?
taught that class?
Yeah.
it wasn't anyone. Oh, it's I forget his name.
Wasn't Mac
But
Brown.
what? No, it wasn't Mac Brown. I wish it
Hey,
was taught by
Kirk,
Mac
Kirk,
Brown.
she said she was in a 400 person class. My class, my last class at UT was slightly less than 400.
How many?
16. 16.
16.
Yeah.
16.
Yes.
Yeah.
16. Very
Yeah.
intimate.
Man.
I
They
remember
love it.
taking the economics business law class at UT. It was about 500. It was just enormous, huge.
Kind of hurts the one-on-one. So what do you guys got coming up? Are you going on any of these upcoming road trips? I know it's very scenic in Lexington, Kentucky, and Stark, Vegas. I mean, there's a line out the door to go cover those two games. Are you guys going to be on those trips?
Not these two. Kentucky, we decided we want to save up a little bit in the Texan budget for Georgia and
That makes sense.
possibly post season. We'll see how it goes. Um,
Possibly the Texas Bowl. Yeah.
And then Mississippi State, a lot of us have a class project with Kevin Robbins where we're covering some Texas high school football games in the area that weekend. So that'll keep us home for a little bit. But Lauren and I did drive through Kentucky on our way back from Nashville, running from a tornado. So
That
Nice.
was ridiculous. We drove to the southern tip of Illinois because we were trying to avoid
Evade
this
it.
like wave.
and we did avoid
Yeah,
it. Hmm
we did avoid it. We didn't get any rain at all, which was pretty impressive considering they called it the biggest weather event of the year, and we were like, of course we're driving during the biggest weather event of the year.
Well, what advice would you have for, say, high school journalists that might want to pursue a career in journalism? Either one of you.
Don't be afraid to talk to people. I mean, that's the basis of it. But I think one thing that I've really learned this past year was you'll never know if you never ask. So,
Good.
Kirk, I remember you telling me this one time, maybe it was during our interview for that story I was doing on you, but where sometimes y'all don't really get to know the Daily Texan reporters or anyone that's really covering the sports with y'all. But talking to journalists like you guys that have been in the industry for such a long time, if anyone gets the opportunity to, like they need to just go ahead and take it. In high school, start early, start young. And if Nick had never asked the Saints SID, hey,
Right.
could we maybe get credentialed? We would have never been able to go. The whole philosophy was there's no harm in asking. I mean, the worst they can say really is no, and if that's the case, you just move on and you ask the next person for some kind of
Absolutely.
opportunity.
Absolutely. Lauren, what advice would you give?
I mean, I think this is some really good advice that Meaghan gave, but I think for me, I mean, if you have any sort of interest in it, like just try it. Because when I first joined, Emma Hutchinson, who she was a former Texan reporter, she was tabling on Speedway, and she's like, just come join sports. Like, it's not that big of a time commitment. You can come and you can write a couple stories here and now. And I joined and I found out that I really loved it. So, and now I do way too much for it. So, I think just if you think you have any sort of interest, just try it out, because you never know, what it'll lead to and what awesome experiences you might get from it.
Well, you two are shining examples of, Daily Texan students that, I support and I'm so proud of. And like I told
Hey,
Meaghan,
girls, did y'all know that Kirk Bohls donated $50,000 to the Daily Texan 2 or 3 years ago?
Nuh-uh.
Yes, he
I didn't
did.
know that.
you don't
Yes,
need to
he
be
did.
putting my business out there.
Well, when you donate, sir, people notice, and there was a great. You went into the Hall of Fame, the Friends of the Daily Texan Hall of Fame, and I was able to present you. Yeah, and you wrote that big check, and people love Kirk Bohls. They
Do
love
they?
him.
Do
Yeah,
they?
they do.
Well,
They do.
we do.
Oh, we love Kirk Bohls.
Mhm.
Come on.
What's not to love? What's
Oh,
not
you
to
want a
love?
list? I'll get you a list. Okay.
Well, we've only got a couple of minutes, so I was gonna rattle off like 15 of them, but I'll save that for another time, sir. I
Well,
will.
keep asking questions, ladies, and you guys are just a credit to the profession. And like I told Meaghan when she asked me, it's journalism is no place for shy and bashful people. Have confidence, connect with others, and be aggressive and get after it. And you two have been a great example of that. So we appreciate you enlightening us and being on our little show. Hope you all come back.
Absolutely. We love being here.
Thank you for having us on.
Enjoyed you, ladies. Thank you for joining us on this edition of On Second Thought. Big shout out to Danny Davis for joining us, breaking down Texas, Kentucky on Saturday night in the Bluegrass State. Check out our stuff on statesman.com, Kirk Bohls' musings on HoustonChronicle.com. Also, he has the Hook'em newsletter. I have the Set's Corner newsletter. Sign up, tell a friend, and go read a copy of the Daily Texan. Lauren and Meaghan are doing great work. Thank you for joining us, guys, and we'll see you next time.
Here, buddy.
Thank y'all.
That's a wrap. You've just experienced On Second Thought, powered by Hook'em.com. Want more? Join Set and Kirk every Thursday for a fun sports ride from the ATX. Find archived episodes anytime on YouTube, Apple, Google Play, and Yahoo.